You really don't need a coat.
Eric?
Nice.
Okay, great. So thank you so much for being here tonight. We should have some more people coming here pretty soon. But tonight, we're going to be talking about lifetime care. And so before I get into the talk, I want to talk about why I do these talks. Because I want to be a service to the Lincoln community. And first of all, I want people to understand that pursuing health is not just a lifestyle of pursuing a lifestyle without pain. In other words, just because you don't have pain doesn't mean you're healthy. So I want you to pursue health regardless of your symptoms. The second thing is I want you to make a lot wiser decisions about your health and about the kind of health care you choose. And if I can give you information that will help that, hi, come on in. If I can give you information that will help you make wiser decisions, and God forbid something happened to me, is that you can make wise decisions with or without me, just based on some of the information that I'm giving you. The third thing is that I want you to be able to take these truths that I'm going to be talking about tonight and teach some of these to others. I don't do these talks because I want something from my patients. I don't need a new car or to eat better ice cream, and I hardly eat any ice cream if you want to know the truth, or wear better clothes. I do it because I want to enlarge the value of other people and help other people to be healthier. So tonight, we're going to be talking about a subject that a lot of people don't talk about, and that's lifetime care. How to take care of yourself for a lifetime. 3 important aspects to lifetime care. So what's most people's approach to lifetime care? And there's a lot of dogma out there that it's not founded on substance, it's founded on cliches. So I'm just going to ask you guys, what do you think most people's approach is to lifetime care in this country, or in this town even? Anybody?
Exercise.
Okay, exercise. So most people think of lifetime care, taking care of themselves, as needing or actually being willing to exercise. Yeah, I mean, that's good. I wish more people would do that, but yeah, exercise. Anybody else? Okay, it's all right. So we're going to get into what I think it is. So there's many misconceptions about lifetime care. Number 1 is if it doesn't hurt, there must not be a problem. Is that true or not?
Mm-mm.
Okay, why isn't that true?
I'm just thinking about cancer. How most of those don't hurt until they're a major problem anyway.
Right. So like with cancer, you don't have symptoms until usually the 4th stage of cancer. So you can walk around with cancer and not know that you even have it. And I've known people like that. I've known people from church like that. They had no idea they had cancer until they had symptoms, or until they were checked out in a physical and they found it. So just because you don't hurt, that doesn't mean there isn't a problem. Now, this attitude is not really a basis for sound healthcare. So think about this. If your car doesn't have a C's engine, you don't change the oil. Okay? No, you change the oil because you want it to run better and run regularly. As human beings, we want things to work their best. Everybody wants new and better. We want better cars, we want safer, faster, and more service conscious cars. But not everybody's willing to pay the price. So when we talk about being healthy, sometimes, and I don't see this as much as I used to, but sometimes people make fun of people who exercise. And I started exercising regularly when I was 24. So I'm 68 now, so I've been exercising now for about 44 years, pretty regularly. And during that course of that time, people used to say, hey, what are you, some sort of health nut? In fact, even a few years ago, one of the pastors of our church said, well, I know you, you're a health nut. And I was kind of stunned by that. I wanted to say, well, what does that make you, a disease nut? I mean, you know, I mean, yeah, I want to be healthy. I want to feel good. Okay. Like when my wife used to work downtown at the Homeland Security Center, she used to bring her own lunches, healthy lunches, and everybody else ate junk except for her. Okay. And everybody else was sick all the time. They missed work. Their productivity was low. They'd come and they had coughs and all kinds of things. But they made fun of her because she ate healthy. And that's just kind of the nature of our culture at times. And that may be true with chiropractic care. Let me ask you, well, haven't they fixed you yet? You still going back there? Well, you know, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. You don't exercise today so you don't have a heart attack tomorrow. Exercise just basically enhances your whole life. In other words, when I exercise, I feel a lot more justified even in eating the meals I eat. We don't read to fix our brain today so you don't get a headache. We reading keeps our brain sharp, okay? And we know that to be true. That's a fact. So that brings us to lifetime care, and it's a discussion a lot of people won't talk about. It's a minority of people in our culture that decides to take care of themselves regardless of how they feel, okay? So in other words, and we'll see this slide a little later on, we don't wait to have a heart attack to decide to take care of our heart. That's a bad strategy. So there's not a lot of people that will engage in this subject, and it takes a certain level of evolved thinking to think about taking care of yourself even when you don't feel bad or regardless of how you feel. So we don't wait till the IRS seizes our property before we respond to them. It's not a good strategy. So let's look at important point number 2 for lifetime care. Lifetime care is not an outcome. It's a never-ending process that we're engaged in. So anything that applies to the virtue of existence is a process, not an end result. So let's look at some of those things. When are we going to be done exercising? Okay, I've been doing it. I started it when I was about 23 or 24. I still do it 4 or 5 times a week, usually 4. Eating the right food. So do you stop eating healthy when you turn 50? Well, I'm going to eat junk now. I'm 50 years old. No. You know, we don't do that. When are we going to stop brushing our teeth? Do we brush our teeth because they hurt? Well, my teeth hurt today. I better brush them. No, that's how we brush our teeth because we want to hang on to them. Okay? What about praying? When are we going to be done praying? Like, well, I prayed my last prayer 2 weeks ago. Not doing it any. No, we don't think like that. When are we going to be doing loving our family? When are we going to stop doing that? The fact is all these things are part of the virtue of life, virtue of existence, and they're never-ending processes, and that's really what lifetime care is. So some people, when they start their chiropractic care, they hear stories that you have to go for the rest of your life. Well, that's not true. You don't have to go to the rest of your life. I don't have chains on the door that hold people in here. But why would I have a lot of people that are regular patients? Why would somebody want to be a regular chiropractic patient even when they don't hurt? Anybody?
Maintenance.
Meaning?
Just to be maintaining, not to fall back, but to
right.
Keep.
So you don't fall back and you don't get into the old problems that you had before. So let's just look at something, a truth about the spine. Do you think your spine, if you let it go and you don't do anything with it, will get better or degenerate? It'll degenerate over time. Yeah. Does degeneration, spinal degeneration, cause pain?
Mm-hmm.
It can, but there's a lot of people that I see that come in that have spinal degeneration that don't have any pain in the part that their spine is degenerated. So you can have degeneration in your spine and have no symptoms. And when it really gets bad, that's when you get symptoms. So taking care of your spine is a lifelong process. Now, there's no such thing that I know of as a spine transplant. I mean, we're probably a couple hundred years away from that. We can get a liver transplant, you can get a heart transplant, but you can't get a spine transplant. So people they keep going to a chiropractor after they're out of pain because a lot of them feel better. They tell me they have more energy, they have more vitality, their bodies work better, and they want to keep it that way. You don't have to do that, but a lot of people want to. So let's talk about Sally's story. Now, Sally's a patient of mine. She's young. Her real name is not Sally. But here's a classic example of somebody who discovered something in her chiropractic care she wasn't expecting. She's in a car accident. She started seeing me, and she saw me for 3 months. And after about 3 months of care, when I was going to dismiss her, she said, can I ask you a question? She said, when I first started seeing you, I was really having a lot of trouble with my cycles, my menstrual cycles. They were painful, they were long. And she says, since I've been going to you, they're fine now. Do you think that's a coincidence? I don't know. I said, what do you think? No, it's no coincidence, because the spine is hooked in. The spine houses the nervous system, which innervates all the organs, and basically her female organs started getting the right nerve supply and started working right. See, a lot of people, though, they don't understand this about how the body works. Hard for them to understand that. And so, so they make fun of people that see chiropractors, or they make fun of people that continue to see them. And that's just sort of the way history is. But I could tell you other stories like that too. That's just one of them. So this is important point number 3 about lifetime care. Caring for your body or your health is something you do in certain moments, but not something you do at other moments. I would say this: we are always rendering care to our bodies, even with the thoughts we think. Let's look at that for a second. Hans Selye was one of the greatest physiologists in American history, and he was the one that discovered the whole thing about stress, about what stress does to our body. And one of the things he found was that stressful thoughts makes cancer grow faster. And this was in the 40s, and he was ridiculed for that. But he found that to be true. Now, and he found that when people are not thinking negative thoughts, that they're healthier. Now, there's another guy by the name of Reiki Hamer in the early 80s produced absolute scientific proof that every cancer has a negative emotional origin, and specific diseases have specific emotional traumas associated with them. So here's what he found, and there's a whole list of these, and I have a list of these in my office, but I just picked out 3. Lung disease has to do with unresolved grief or sorrow. Stomach and small intestine problems, indigestible anger. Liver, starvation of love. And he was able to correlate each emotion with a very specific finding on MRI with a very specific cancer. So he found that thoughts, the things that we think are emotional traumas that are unhealed, have a profound effect on our health. Now, we render care to ourselves every day. So if you go to bed angry, do you think that percolates, in our minds all night long? It's, the Bible says we're not supposed to do that, okay? So we should go to bed joyful. Wouldn't that be a healthier way to sleep? But we render care to ourselves every day, constantly. The beverages we choose to drink, whether or not we choose to exercise, the food we choose to eat, how much we chew our food, which I'm not always very good at myself, if you want to know the truth. My wife would tell you that. Whether we smoke cigarettes, whether we drink to extreme, whether we have limited sugar or too much sugar. What does too much sugar do to the body, by the way? I have a whole talk on sugar, but what does it do? What are some of the things that too much sugar does?
Causes inflammation.
Inflammation, yeah, definitely. Inflammation. And what does it cause to, what grows a lot faster when you eat sugar?
Bacteria.
Bacteria love sugar,
They do.
yeast loves sugar, but cancer loves sugar. In fact, I'm reading a book right now on the guy that discovered that, and I'm going to add that to my cancer talk in the future. Whether we consume artificial sweeteners, which we know damage nervous system function, we're rendering care to ourselves every living, breathing second. So lifetime care isn't a choice. It's really the quality of what we're going to engage in. So, you know, if friends say to yourself, are you still on that health kick? You still going to that chiropractor? Really what the question they should ask, are you continuing to render healthier and healthier care to yourself and make greater improvements in the type of care you're rendering to yourself? That's really the issue. And I know people that I've sit around and talk about this stuff with. What kind of exercises are you doing? Tell me what kind of food you're eating that are making you healthier. I've had these conversations. So those are really the questions they should be asked. Now, let's talk about lifetime care in regard to the coronavirus, because that's the big issue right now. So the coronavirus has a tendency to go after lung tissue. This makes people with smokers and weak lungs more vulnerable. So other than not smoking, what's something that would make your lungs a lot stronger?
Exercise.
Exercise, yeah. That wasn't a trick question.
No.
Yeah, exercise, okay. Now, what are things that we can control in the way that we care for ourselves that would make us more or less susceptible to the coronavirus? Well, the nutrient deficiencies. Nutrient deficiencies make our immune systems weak, and they make viruses stronger. So I'm going to ask you a question. What is one thing that a lot of people take that actually could make or create nutrient deficiencies in the body? It's one thing people ingest that absolutely is an absolute cause of nutrient deficiencies.
Pharmaceuticals?
Yes, pharmaceuticals, that's the right answer. Pharmaceuticals make a lot of their side effects because of how they deplete nutrients in the body. Okay, so let's look at some key nutrients for COVID. Ionized calcium, very, very key for COVID. I do an entire talk where I show you the research on this. Ionized calcium is used by the body to kill viruses. The product that we have that ionizes calcium very well is calcium lactate. Another vitamin is vitamin C, the whole food complex vitamin C. Very antiviral, increases your white blood cell count, upregulates killer cells, makes interferon. Vitamin C is a big deal, okay? Vitamin E builds resistance to viruses. So what would be a food that would give us vitamin E? Anybody?
I'm thinking mushrooms.
Probably.
They do help.
Avocados,
Yeah,
really high in
yeah,
vitamin E.
Yeah.
Okay. Selenium, very, very powerful antioxidant, very important for thyroid function. Zinc kills COVID. Okay.
Good,
So
good.
there's a lot of doctors out there. They use ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, opens up the cell membrane so zinc can get in and destroy COVID. Those are the two things they're using. That's how ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine work. Now, when they wouldn't let people use that anymore, that's why so many people died. Now, there is an over-the-counter product that will do something pretty similar to hydroxychloroquine, and that's quercetin. You can buy quercetin over the counter, opens up the cell membrane, zinc can get in and kill it. So zinc's important. Vitamin A, very important to immune and thyroid function. Vitamin D, I can show you at least 5 or 6 papers I have in my office that show that vitamin D is incredibly important, not only to prevent COVID, but in treating it. So gut bacteria really is a huge effect on our immune system. So in our daily lifetime care, caring for our gut bacteria is really, really important. Now, there are certain things that destroy gut bacteria, like antibiotics, chemotherapy, steroids, and lots of other drugs. How do we enhance our gut bacteria? What can we do to help it?
Probiotics?
Probiotics could. Probiotics aren't as good as we once thought. They're okay. They're more of a temporary solution. Okay. So not a bad answer though. What else would enhance our gut bacteria? How about eating fermented foods? Sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha tea. Those are very, very powerful foods for enhancing gut bacteria, fermented foods. Okay, so I drink a lot of kombucha tea. I make my own, and I drink it every day, and I think that's one of the things that kept me from getting COVID, even though I was exposed to it a lot. So the gut bacteria, very, very important for immune system function. Stress increases our susceptibility to viruses. So managing stress, very, very important. Getting adjusted is the fastest way that I know to upregulate the immune system in the body. Now, there's lots of ways we can upregulate it. Exercise helps the immune system. Eating right helps the immune system, but nothing does it faster and more efficiently that I know of than a chiropractic adjustment. So what about rendering care to kids? Well, I won't spend a lot of time on this topic, but kids get sick just like everybody else. Getting kids adjusted keeps them healthier, and every chiropractor I know adjusts their kids. And when you talk to chiropractors, they will say their kids hardly ever have had to take antibiotics because they get adjusted regularly. So my request to you, as your doctor of chiropractic, who takes care of your spine and nervous system, which controls all your body functions, is to really think about things and do things like spinal exercises. Look at your workplace ergonomics. You know, do people that sit a lot at work, are they healthier or unhealthier?
Unhealthier.
Yeah, they're unhealthier.
Yeah.
You know, they say that sitting is what? Sitting is the new smoking. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That sitting actually, you know, if you sit too much, it actually degenerates your body in some of the same ways that smoking does. Not all of the same ways, but some of them. So that's why spinal exercises and just exercise in general is really important. Now, let me just say this about ligaments, okay? What do ligaments do in the body?
Holds your joints together.
That's exactly right, Terry. They hold bones together.
Yep.
Ligaments are highly innervated because your body needs to know where your joints are in space and time. That's why when you damage a ligament, it hurts. You see these football players writhing in pain on the field when they tear a ligament.
Oh, God, yeah.
And they heal slowly because they don't have a blood supply. Now, here's the thing about ligaments, is that ligaments over time tend to shorten and get stiff. That's why when we get older, our necks don't move as well, and we don't near the flexibility that we did when we were little. So when I have you do your neck exercises and bring your head back like this, sometimes that will hurt a little bit. That's because we're pulling these highly innervated ligaments apart and we're stretching them, and they become shortened, so we're making them supple again. So adjusting the spine and exercise keeps your ligaments fertile. And what happens is every 5 to 7 days, the ligaments will shorten again if they're not exercised or adjusted. So here's another aspect of lifetime care that I just want to bring up. Some people have the habit of going from health tragedy to health tragedy. How many of you know people like that? Oh, I do.
Yeah.
They go from, and that's a form of lifetime care. That's not what I want. And I don't think that's wise at all. And if that's the lifetime care that you choose, you'd be very frustrated in my office, because we want lifetime care based on wisdom and deliberately engaged so that you're not going from crisis to crisis. Our society's given us so many confusing messages regarding health, diets, and nutrition. That's why I do these classes, so that you can learn to care for yourself more effectively without even me being around. So like, for example, on February 22nd, which is 2 weeks, we're going to do a class in holistic cardiology. How do you measure and determine how well your heart's functioning, and what do you do to take care of it? We're going to talk about that. I'm going to show you some demonstrations. So I'm not necessarily here to treat you how you feel, but to make sure that your brain and your spinal cord are operating at the greatest possible capacity so you can function your best. That doesn't mean you'll never be in pain again, or you'll never have some of the symptoms that you walked in with. But here's what it does mean. It means you're going to age a lot slower. And maybe that's important to me. And you're going to repair a lot more efficiently. And I have an entire talk on anti-aging where we talk about this process. So I'm not saying you'll never be in pain. I'm not saying you'll never ever be sick again. But I am saying you're going to age slower, you're going to repair better, your body's going to work better. So we're done a little early. That's all I have for tonight. Does anybody have any questions on anything I've gone over tonight?
Some of the vitamins that you were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
like the quercetin,
Mm-hmm.
that's something that a person should take on a daily basis?
You could. I mean, I don't,
Okay.
but you could. Yeah, you could. Quercetin and zinc together.
Because I take zinc, the vitamin C, the D, the E, and what's the other one? Magnesium.
Okay, that's good. Okay.
So I didn't know if there was something else I should be putting in with the mix.
Well, calcium lactate is pretty good. And then you could, now I don't sell quercetin here, but you could use that. I don't take it regularly. I think that, if I just feel like I take good enough care of myself and take enough things that I don't have to take every single thing out there.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, it's just like, how much of this stuff should I be taking? Because I know NAC, that's another one. But when do you take it? When you're not feeling well, or do you take it on a consistent basis? So there's some of those things like how often and
Okay, that's a great question. And here's my answer to that, is that not every person needs every single supplement out there. For example, I don't take NAC. Not because it's I carry NAC. I like NAC. I tested myself for it. My body doesn't want it. Okay? There's a lot of products that I carry that my body doesn't necessarily need right at this moment. So my thing is, okay, let's figure out what you do need. Now, how do you do that? Well, you can do that through blood work. You can do it through hair analysis, or you can just, bring your supplements in on a separate visit, and we can find out which ones your body wants and which ones they don't want. Because one of the things I found about nutrition is that your body may want a nutrient for a while. It may need a whole food vitamin C complex for 3 months, and then doesn't want it anymore for a while. It may need adrenal support for a while, then doesn't need it anymore. And I found that very, very consistently, not only with myself, but with my patients. And then 2 months later, it may need it again. So that's why I really encourage people in their process of caring for themselves to eat a healthy, whole food diet where they're getting a lot of that stuff. Maybe they're not getting all of it, but a lot of it, so that you don't always have to take loads of supplements all the time. Now, am I a believer in supplements? You bet I take them. But I take the ones I need, and I just don't take them to be taking them. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, granted, I mean, with my profession and everything, I want to be doing what's necessary to keep from getting COVID.
Absolutely. And I personally, I think regular exercise is one of those things to do. I don't think it's just supplements.
Right.
I think exercise keeps your lungs healthy. And that's the weakest part of a lot of people that have gotten COVID. So I think exercise is very, very important.
Which I do at least. I try to do 7 days a week.
Good. So you're way ahead of the game. Yeah, that's right. That's good. And again, when you do a lot of things right, even if you get COVID, you won't get it as bad. And like I said, I've been exposed to it so many times I can't even count. I've never gotten it, and I should have gotten it just by how much I've been exposed to it. But I think that some of the things I've done have helped, and I want to pass that information on to as many people as I can. So great question. Good question. Good. So our half hour is up, and that's all I tell people. I want to keep them here. I just want to say this, and I'm going to let you go. Right now, we're in the midst of we're going to have a Patient Appreciation Day on the 3rd of March, and we're going to be doing some complimentary consultations, spinal checks, some things that we're just going to do at our expense. And if you know people, most people know people who are sick, just have them come in, make an appointment, let us check them out. If we can help them, we'll tell them. If they don't want to be a patient, that's fine. If they do, that's fine. But at least give them a chance, because there's so many sick people out there. They don't know where to go. They don't know how to get themselves better. And a lot of those people we can help through chiropractic and nutrition. And if you let them know, we can at least make an appointment and talk to them and find out, hey, we can help them. Maybe we can get them to a place where they can be helped. So that's coming up. You can talk to Carmen about that. She'll be back next week. Good. God bless you guys. Have a great evening. And we'll do the talk on holistic cardiology in 2 weeks. That's our Valentine's talk for this month. Heart health. So good. Thank you for coming. Thank you all for coming.